Welcome to Becoming More. I don't know what you think about stress, yet after this podcast, you are definitely going to think about it differently, I trust. See, for years, I've been telling people that stress may make them sick. I've heard that, so I passed it on. And you may have even heard that it increases the risk of everything from the common cold to heart disease. And basically, people have turned stress into like the enemy, for heaven's sakes. And I've changed my mind about stress, though, because I want to help you today by changing yours as well. See, let me start with a study that I read about that made me rethink about this whole approach to stress. And this study actually tracked 30,000 adults in the United States for 8 years. And they started by asking people, how much stress have you experienced in the last year? And they also asked, do you believe that stress is harmful for your health? Now, if I asked you that, would you say that you believe stress is harmful for your health? And have you had some stress? Well, then they actually studied the public death records. And I know that sounds eerie, yet I want you to hear some of the bad news first, right? People who experienced a lot of stress in the previous year had a 43% increased risk of passing away. And that was only true for the people who also believed that stress is harmful for your health. Now, people who experienced a lot of stress, yet they didn't believe that it was harmful, well, they had a lower risk. And they had actually lower than people that had relatively little stress. Now, the researchers estimated that over the next 8 years, they would track the people that passed away. 182,000 Americans died prematurely, not from stress, from the belief that stress is bad for you. Now, that's over 20,000 deaths a year. And if that estimation is correct, that would make believing stress bad for you. I mean, it's the 15th largest cause of death in the United States, according to the research studies. It's killing more people than skin cancer does. And you can see why this study freaked me out, for heaven's sakes. How much energy have you spent in, oh my word, I'm so stressed, or stress is bad for my health? And that study may have you wondering, can you change how you think about stress? And by changing about how you think about stress, will you become healthier? And the scientists say, yes, you will become healthier. When you change your mind about stress, you can change your body's response to stress. Now, let me explain to you how this works, right? I want you all to pretend that you're participants in this study, and it's designed to stress you out. It's called the social stress test. You come into the laboratory and you're told you have 5-minute impromptu speech. Now, how many of you would be stressed? You'd have to stand up in front of all these people and give a speech that you didn't even know you had to give. And sitting right there in front of you are all these people that you care so deeply about. Now, they have the bright lights on, the camera's staring you in the face, and you're standing there, well, maybe kind of like, well, the evaluators have been trained to give you discouraging, non-verbal feedback like rolling their eyes, making you feel like, oh my goodness, I'm doing such a bad job. And then they put you through a math test. And unbeknownst to you, the experimenter has been trained to harass you during this entire test. Now we're going to put all this together, and it's going to be fun because I want you all to count backwards from 996, right? In increments of 7. Can you believe that? Could you actually do that? Starting with 996, go. And that's the kind of test that these people had. Well, of course, they started counting, yet they had the audience participate with you in front. And you're stumbling through it, but the audience is going fast because the audience knows all the answers. And of course, you're going very, very slow. And you go, stop, stop, stop. And somebody says, you made a mistake. You're going to have to start all over again. And then they go, you're not very good at this, are you? So you kind of get the idea. Now, if that doesn't cause you a lot of stress, what will? If you were actually in the study, you're probably stressed out just even thinking about it. And your heart might even be pounding, for heaven's sakes, and your breathing starts to go faster and you're breaking out in a sweat. I know I would if I was standing in front of all of them. And normally they would interrupt with physical changes, the anxiety showing up, people working to cope with the pressures. Yet, what if you viewed the whole thing instead of saying, wow, this is energizing to me. I like being put on the spot. This is challenging. And that's what the participants were told. It was a study of Harvard University, and before they went through the social test, they were taught to rethink their stress response by saying, hey, this is going to be helpful. The pounding heart is preparing you for action. You're breathing faster. Oh, that's no problem at all. And you're actually getting more oxygen into your brain during this time, so you're thinking all this stuff is good for you. Now you stand up there, and they ask you to start at 996. And count backwards by 7. And you're thinking, oh my word, my heart is pounding. That's good for me. I've got shallow breath. That's good for me too. I'm breathing faster. That's good for me. I'm taking in more oxygen. And all of a sudden, your blood vessels, they actually start being different. Because see, the stress is not there. The stress that you thought you would have in one instant by believing stress is bad, you don't have anymore. And the study, when the participants actually viewed their stress response that was helpful, their blood vessels stayed relaxed. Whereas before, they were getting bigger and bigger because of all the stress. Now, everybody's heart was still pounding that was put through this study, right? Yet, think about it. How they viewed it is what turned out to be. So how do you view stress? Because see, when you have enough stress, you actually perform better. You have to have stress to perform at a high level. And the more stress you have, yes, you can get too much stress to where that performance starts going backwards, right? They also found that people that say stress is healthy for you, stress allows you to perform better. In this study, they showed that those people lived into their 90s. Now, that's new science. Maybe you've heard about it, maybe you haven't. Yet, how do you view stress? That's what I want you to think about this week. I want you to be better because you view stress in a different way. After all, the way we view things is the way we do things. That's what my mentor for 29 years, John Maxwell, taught me. And so how you view things is how you do things. So now, how many of you will look at stress differently? Just go out this week and have a little bit of stress and see if that performance goes up, because you know stress is actually good for you. This is Becoming More. I'm Dianna Kokoszka, and if you like this episode, hit the subscription button down below, and I will see you next week.